Hello, evolutionists, or as I like to call you, evil-utionists. Get it? Ting! I hope you enjoy the fact that when you're dead, you're all going to burn in boiling oil for all eternity. What's that? You say there's no God? Well, what if you're wrong? What are you going to do when you die and meet God and you discover that he really does exist, and now he's going to judge you? That's got you stumped, hasn't it? Zing! Look at how the so-called British intellectual Stephen so-called Fry wet his pants when he was asked that question.
I'd say bone cancer in children? What's that about? How dare you? How dare you create a world in which there is such misery that is not our fault? It's not right. It's utterly, utterly evil. Why should I respect a capricious, mean-minded, stupid God who creates a world which is so full of injustice and pain? That's what I would say.
And you think you're going to get in on
No,
that?
but I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to get in on his terms. Because the God who created this universe, if it was created by God, is quite clearly a maniac. Utter maniac. Totally selfish. We have to spend our life on our knees thanking him? What kind of God would do that? Yes, the world is very splendid, but it also has in it insects whose whole life cycle is to burrow into the eyes of children and make them blind. They eat outwards from the eyes. Why? Why did you do that to us? You could easily have made a creation in which that didn't exist. It is simply not acceptable.
See? He's stumped. Zing! Even Darwin realised his own theory was bullshit. Listen to what he wrote. As by this theory innumerable transitional forms must have existed, why did we not find them embedded in countless numbers in the crust of the earth? I believe the answer mainly lies, in the crust of the earth. See, even he didn't know the answer to that one. Now, a lot of evil-utionists pointed out that not everything has been designed as brilliantly as things like the cholera bacterium or the Zika virus or that worm thing that lives in your eye. Clearly, they're great examples of design. What about the female pelvis? One atheist wrote and asked me. It's badly designed, way too narrow for easy childbirth. Most animals have no problem giving birth because humans evolved, more like evil-evolved, zing, and stood upright. The design of the female pelvis is an evolutionary compromise. More like it. Never mind. Then he says a lot of stuff I really don't understand. But it doesn't matter. If you so-called women are annoyed at the so-called pain you have to go through in childbirth, well, whose fault is that? You should have, stopped your ancestor Eve from eating that forbidden fruit, shouldn't you? What am I talking about, you say? Here's what. It says in the Bible that after Eve picked the fruit, God told her, I will make your pains in childbearing very severe. With painful labour you will give birth to children. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. So if it hurts and you get bitch-slapped when you're married, you've only got yourselves to blame, right? God's punishing you because he loves you. I know Adam ate the apple too, but it wasn't his fault because he was tempted by Eve. That's why my parents and my preacher taught me that we should never give in to the temptations of women, even if it means years of sexual frustration and saying no to Cheryl Batchelor on a camping trip, to use a hypothetical example. What I'm saying is it wasn't Adam's fault, so we men are excused the pain of childbirth, is what I'm saying. Take that, pregnant women, or rather, complaining women, zing! Obviously, before she sinned, Eve didn't have this narrow pelvis that makes childbirth difficult. God made that afterwards. Before, she would have had a very wide pelvis, and childbirth would have been very easy. Now, you might say, why is it that in all the pictures of Eve, she doesn't have a huge pelvis? No, you're right, I can't explain that. But the point is, before the fall, there was no death, no suffering, no painful childbirth. God redesigned us after the fall, so we'd suffer. Here's another stupid post. If humans were intelligently designed, why is the windpipe used for breathing and swallowing food, you creationist man? Look, he can't even spell creationist. A better design would have been to separate the two, he says, because thousands of people choke every year on food that obstructs their breathing. Yeah, you think you're so clever, Mr. so-called atheist, or rather Mr. stupidist. Zing. Well, for your information, before man sinned, we were perfect, and food didn't get lodged in our windpipes because, well, obviously we had two windpipes. Yeah, that's right. They were separated, one for food, one for air. So before the fall, no one ever choked. And someone else wrote, if you think a human backbone is intelligently designed, why is it made of so many complicated joints that keep going out of alignment, causing 60 to 80% of Americans to have back problems? Ha ha! Well, Mr. Smarty Pants atheist, that's another thing that was redesigned to make us suffer after Adam and Eve sinned. He says, animals don't get back problems, do they? Because they're not standing upright. Well then, obviously, before we sinned, we were walking on all fours, like this. No, hey, wait, maybe that's not right. So this is, okay, here's the thing. I'm going to amend my book. You can't take this intelligent design thing literally, obviously. The thing is, God had just made the whole universe, right? So, of course, by the time the sixth day came along, he thought, bugger that for a game of soldiers. I really can't be asked to make everything perfect. I mean, he may be omnipotent, but no one ever said he's all-powerful. So basically, God just cobbled these things together, and okay, it's not quite right, but he did his best. As you can see if you read my new book, Half-Baked Design. Except he did design the childbirth thing, of course, because he specifically said women have to suffer. And if you don't believe all that, you're going to hell. That's got you worried, hasn't it? Zing!